Hi, I'm Dr. Rosario, and today we will be talking about fever. Fever is by far one of the most common reasons parents bring their children in to see the doctor. Today, I'd like to go over some of the most frequently asked questions I get about fever. First of all, what is a fever? Fever is defined by a temperature of 100.4 degrees Fahrenheit or higher. That's 100.4. I emphasize this because a temperature of 99 or 100 is not considered a fever. So what causes fever? In kids, most of the time it is from some sort of infection that the body is trying to fight off, such as a cold, the flu, or some other virus. It's important to know that when a fever is present, it means our body is actively fighting off a certain germ. So fever can actually be a good thing. I often get asked, but what if it's a high fever, like 103 or 104? Well, a high fever can seem worrisome, but it doesn't necessarily mean that your child has a really bad infection going on, because even common viruses can cause a high fever. The take-home point here is that a fever by itself, even one as high as 104, is not dangerous and does not cause the body any harm. So when should we worry about a fever then? The answer is that it all depends on how your child looks and what other symptoms are present. If the fever is accompanied by a bad cough, difficulty breathing, or other signs that your child is acting very sick, then you should definitely bring them in to be checked. But if your child is maybe a little tired looking, but otherwise still active and drinking fluids, generally you can monitor them at home and not necessarily bring them in right away. Most fevers caused by viruses will go away on their own in a few days. So if a fever is still present after 4 days, that would be a good time to bring them in. One very important exception to this rule is for younger babies less than 2 months old. Babies are vulnerable to infection in the first few months of life, so any young infant with a fever should be brought in that same day to the doctor. But for older infants and kids who are healthy and vaccinated, fevers usually don't mean something serious is going on. So what should we do for the fever? Again, it all depends on how your child looks and feels. If your child has chills, body aches, or is fussy, you can give medicines such as Tylenol or ibuprofen to help make them feel better. But if they're otherwise acting fine and looking okay, you don't necessarily have to give them any medicine. One last take-home point I'd like to make is that fever medicine does help bring the fever down, but it does not treat the underlying infection. That's why a fever might come back after the medicine wears off. This doesn't mean something wrong is going on with your child. It just means that the infection is still there and hasn't gone away yet. Next time, we will talk in more detail about common childhood infections that can cause fever and when antibiotics are needed. For Live Life Healthy, I'm Dr. Del Rosario.